Hello, this is John Adams, and this is part one of an introduction to Adobe Photoshop. And this is basically for beginners, not advanced students. So I think beginner students will enjoy this part, just getting to know how to use Photoshop in the very beginning. So please stay tuned. So one of the first things that we need to do is open some files. So I'm going to go ahead and pull my dialog box up here, and I have some files in here that I want to open. So opening these files, there's a couple different ways of doing this. So as you would, I'm using a Macintosh computer, so in a Macintosh you would go ahead and click on your actual file, and then you would get a preview of the image and the also the date in which it was created and the last opened and the size dimensions. So if I wanted to open this, I can just right click on it, and you can do the same thing on your Windows computer, and then you can open with. So I would open it with Adobe Photoshop. So that's one way of doing it. The other way is holding the shift key down and clicking on the file at the bottom, and it'll select both of these, and then you can open both of them at the same time. You can go like this and then go to Adobe Photoshop. The other way to do it is drag these files, and this is only on Mac. I'm not really sure if you can do that on Windows or not, but you can drag these files down into your Photoshop dock that's in the dock down at the very bottom. And so I'll go ahead and select these two files and open them using Open With, and I'll go to Photoshop and we'll open both of these files. Now you'll have both the ducky, little rubber ducky, and the water background. So the one that we want to start with is we want to start with the rubber ducky. So we're going to make a basic selection to the rubber ducky. I'm going to zoom in just a little bit. So on this demonstration, I'm going to go ahead and talk to you about making a selection, but I'm also going to talk to you about using a few of the different tools. So the first thing is if you look into the toolbox on the left hand side, you'll see that you have the move tool, the marquee tool, the rectangle marquee tool, and then the lasso tool, and then I have the magic wand open. Typically, if you hold your mouse down and release, this will be the default setting, will be the quick selection mode, and you can see it when you go over it, or when you click on it, it'll say quick selection tool, not mode. Quick selection tool and the magic wand. So for this exercise, I'm going to go ahead and use the magic wand. So I'm going to click on the icon, click on the magic wand, and then because of the fact that this image has a white background, it makes it a lot easier for you to make selections. So as we let's scoot down just a little bit here so you can see the white and black area. What we want to do is we want to select actually the rubber ducky, but typically if we went over to one of the common selection tools is the lasso tool, and below the lasso tool is the polygon lasso tool and the magnetic lasso tool. So I'm just going to click on the lasso, and if we did that, we could try to make a selection of this rubber ducky. I'm just going to go ahead and do the head because it's a little, I want to make it quick. But you can't hold your mouse down very accurately and make a selection. So we would have not only the rubber ducky's head, but we'd have the white background. So we don't want to do that. So the easiest way to deselect is if you go into your menu at the very top, you go up here and you'd say select, deselect. So that'll deselect what you've already selected in there. So what we want to do is, for my purposes, and because of the fact that it's got a solid white background, the magic wand works really great for solid areas like solid black, solid gray, solid white. It doesn't work very well on textured backgrounds or backgrounds that have gradient color and so on. So for this it works really great, and that's why a lot of stock images have this white background. So I'm just going to go ahead and click on the background. Instead of, if I click on the rubber ducky, I'll just undo this. If I click on the rubber ducky, you're going to have to make a lot of multiple selections to do that. And in order to do this and do it properly, you also have a setting for all your selection tools up in the very top. So the very first one is just the selection by itself, a new selection. So every time that you go over here and you try to make a different selection, it's going to create a new selection each time, which isn't what you want to do. For this, if we were doing it in that manner, we will want to add to the selection, which is the second icon over here, and as you do this, it would add to the selection and keep adding until you get it. But this is the long and cumbersome way of getting a selection. I just use the command D keyboard shortcuts to deselect. It's the same as going to the menu at the top under select, deselect. So instead of doing this, because we do have a solid background, what we can do is we can just select the white area, which is a lot easier and simpler than it is to try to select the rubber ducky itself. So on this, I'm just going to click in the white area. Now, this is really great because it selects all the white area around it. But right now, it only has the background. We want the opposite of this, or inverse. So if we go up into the menu again, and we switch here, we'll go under select. We want to say inverse under select. And here's the keyboard shortcut for it in case you want to know. And that happens with all of your major tools, is the keyboard shortcut is always to the right. So we're going to say inverse. And as soon as we say inverse, you'll see that we have a selection area that's actually the rubber ducky itself. And that's what we want. So in order to make this work, all you have to do is go up to the menu, go under File, or Edit, excuse me, Copy, and then we want to go to the actual file that we're working on, and which is, we're going to put the rubber ducky on the water file. So we're just going to click on the tab for the water file. That's going to come up. Then we're going to go to Edit. When you go to Copy, it puts the image that you copy in the copy block. So we go to Edit, Paste, and there's a rubber ducky. So the next step of this tutorial is talking about using the Move tool. And that's one of my favorite tools, but some people use it a lot and some people don't use it very often. You do have to use it to move things, but they don't use it to the extent that I typically use it. So if you go to the Move tool, which is at the very top of the tool bar here, you'll see the Move tool. Okay, underneath the Move tool is also another tool that is the Artboard tool. Now we'll get to that later, but we just want the Move tool. When we go to the Move tool, and yours will be just the opposite of this, you won't have these boxes checked. So if you don't have those boxes checked, I highly recommend, and I tell all my beginning students to select these, because the auto select, when you use that with the Move tool, when you click on an object that's in your that you've pasted into your background, you will be able to select that object just by clicking on it with the Move tool. That makes life a lot easier. The other one is Show Transform Controls. So Show Transform Controls gives you these anchors that go around your object that you have pasted, and you can see in here it gives you corner points, center points, and the centers here and here, and corners on all four corners. So you can use this to transform your object. So if you transform your object, you can transform from the center points, but what happens is when you do this, it's going to scrunch your image and it'll never look quite right again. And that's one of the easiest ways to tell if you've modified an object, is if you have actually scrunched it down or across width or height. At the very top, when you're doing this with the Move tool, you'll see an icon up here that shows a check and a dialogue or a diagonal line inside a circle, and that means that you do not want to use this adjustment or transformation. So when you see that, I'll do it again for you. In here, you'll see there's a check, means that you want to commit that selection, or you don't want to commit that selection. So if you don't like what you've done, you can say, let's go back to where I was, or you can do something else. So one of the factors with using this is that using the move tool, the cool part is that you can size things now without having to go into edit and transform to actually size things. The other thing I want to bring to your attention, when you go ahead and paste, if you have your layer palette open, when you copied and pasted your rubber ducky, it shows up on the specific layer above the background. Now the background, it says background, and it also has this little lock on it. So Photoshop automatically locks the background image because it wants you to not move it around, and it does save some headaches, because if you move this around, you're going to get your composite images not looking the way you want, or I've had students actually move them around afterwards and couldn't figure out why, their image in the background was in a different place. So it's better to keep that locked. I'll show you how to unlock it later. But for now, we're just working on the rubber ducky, and you can see with this highlight, the blue color, blue-gray color, it means that you have that layer selected. So in here, if I go ahead and go to the corner, you can see my icons. So one of the things you can do, you can rotate. If you can see this up in the left-hand corner, you can see the arrows with the arched arrows. That means that you can rotate your image. So you can actually just go move your cursor over here and then just click with your mouse and rotate. So the other thing you can do is you can size. Now I'm going to go ahead and uncommit that, and now if you go ahead and hold your cursor over the corner, hold the shift key down, you can constrain your image ratio and size your little rubber ducky to any size you want. So I'm going to go ahead and size it, and then with the move tool, after you've sized it, you can move it anywhere you want. The only thing that it will not let you do anything else besides that until you commit your sizing by going up to the very top in your options and checking the checkbox, or you can check the uncommit sizing or ratio by going to the circle with the diagonal line through it. Alright, so now that we have the rubber ducky here on this specific layer and it's all by itself, we can modify this or we can duplicate it. So I'm going to go ahead and finish the others in part 2 of this tutorial. So stay tuned for part 2, which is coming up next.